Hi everybody, this is Chris Kennedy, the Program Director for STEM Teachers of New York City. Over the next 10 to 15 minutes, we'll give you a quick overview of the organization and our programs here in New York City. So STEM Teachers NYC is a not-for-profit organization based here in New York, and our mission is to cultivate excellence in STEM teaching and promote deep understanding and success for students through innovative, teacher-led professional development. And our members, which are mostly classroom teachers around the tri-state area, are in all different kinds of school types. We've got 65% of our members coming from public schools, 10% are coming from public charter schools, 13% are coming from private schools, and the remainder from religious schools.
Hi, this is Fernand Brunchwig. I'm the president of STEM Teachers NYC, and I'm working here with Chris to tell you about our organization. I retired from my long-term teaching position at the State University in 2011, and very quickly I unretired because there was a group of physics teachers here in New York City who wanted to form a teacher-led support group of STEM educators. And we very quickly grew to over 975 teachers that are now part of our organization. And I want to tell you a little bit about the history of STEM teachers, the intellectual history of STEM teachers. The very beginnings of the organizational approach to excellence that I knew about was the Physical Science Study Committee, which began in 1956. I was a graduate student and I started teaching using their materials. It had a very innovative storyline based on the development of a model for the phenomena, particularly the ray model of light, the particle model of light, and then using the wave phenomena of interference and diffraction, the wave model of light. And this was really something that excited many teachers, including myself and including my dissertation advisor at University of California, Berkeley, Robert Karplus. And Dr. Karplus was someone who developed the idea of modeling to a greater extent than had been developed in the Physical Science Study Committee. He invented what was called a learning cycle. And in this diagram, you'll see around the outside, the exploration at the bottom, discovery at the left, the top, and then concept invention or application at the right. Exploration, invention, discovery actually was his initial approach to it. He had reversed the two the two stages in the diagram. And he wrote about this and developed the theory, and it became very successful. Later on, he wrote a book called Introductory Physics, a Model Approach, which applied this learning cycle. And he also developed an interesting way of a sequence of topics for the introduction to physics. And then modeling instruction, which is the inner diagram of model deployment and model development that goes back on itself constantly, was developed at Arizona State University later on in the 80s and 90s by David Hestenes, Greg Swackhammer, and many others. So these sorts of things are what underlie all of our approaches. It's generally called active learning. We have teacher-led professional development is one of the key pillars of our approach. Active learning, using the learning cycle, using modeling instruction, and finally a resilient teacher network, mostly online, by which people can get in touch with one another after the workshops or in between the workshops when they aren't actually face-to-face.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about some of our programs here at STEM Teachers NYC. We currently offer about 2 weekend workshops each month up at Teachers College here at Columbia University. And each workshop is about 3 hours long and explores a range of different topics from physics to chemistry, biology, engineering, and computer science. All of our workshops are led by active classroom teachers and include a lot of hands-on experimental activities for teachers to really think about their role as both a teacher and as a learner. During the summertime, we offer longer workshops, more intense workshops that last from 3 days to 3 weeks long. And these are led by master teachers, part of our network, in topics like physics, chemistry, biology, middle school science, and elementary science. And we're also involved in a lot of research and partnership-based programs here in the city. One of them is the Kid Talk Teacher Talk program for elementary school teachers through 100K and 10. And that program works with elementary school teachers all over the region to empower them to use more discourse management skills inside their classroom to get students involved in science. We're also doing a computational modeling program which really infuses coding and computer languages into the physics curriculum, as well as a few partnerships with the DOE and New Visions for Public Schools. Along the way here, you'll see a couple of images of some of our workshops up at Teachers College. This one here is a chemistry workshop led by Donghong Sung. This is a workshop that was summer of 2017 on physics and mechanics modeling. And this is a workshop led by Chris Resch, who was a biology teacher in New Jersey, and he worked on a workshop all about energy. And you can see them working with a black light here to understand chlorophyll and its energy properties. And lastly, there's a workshop led by Craig Buska and Jana about bonds and misconceptions in the STEM classroom. And so we also have a very range of impacts on both teachers and students here in the city. Let me tell you a little bit more about those. So every year we lead about 35 workshops, and they reach over 800 teacher members across the 5 boroughs in the region, and that in turn impacts about 250,000 students. And our impact is measured in a lot of different ways. We offer surveys at the end of each workshop, and a lot of our participants, most of the participants say that they were willing to come back for another workshop, and they also say that a lot of the materials and experiences they have in the workshops directly impact students, and so they see increased student engagement and understanding of key concepts. Our goal is to reach over 25% of the region's 21,000 STEM teachers. New York City is one of the largest school districts in the United States. There's 1.1 million students and a ton of teachers and programs. And so our goal is really to reach as many teachers as possible and to ensure that we align with a lot of different standards frameworks that are used in the classroom, such as the next generation science standards.
I'd like to recommend that if you don't know about the next generation science standards, you take a look at them. They're listed on the internet, and the U.S., most of the U.S. states in the U.S. have adopted them, and I think it looks very likely, I hope it will be, I think it's very likely that all of the states will adopt this and the country as a whole will move in this direction. The student results are very favorable. This graph is a very comprehensive study that was done by Mr. Richard Hake, Dr. Richard Hake, back in 1998. He studied thousands of students that were involved in classes of physics, and he found that the ones that were pursuing active learning, such as in our workshops, using modeling instruction and using the CAR+ learning cycle, that they learned up to 2 standard deviations better. The red dots show you the increase in their learning. This graph also shows that those that had less knowledge of the subject, which are at the left side of the diagram, tended to gain more knowledge from active learning than those that had more knowledge of the subject. The student results are also quite amazing for our local test. This is the physics regents exam for New York State, and one of our members, Steve Lance, when his first year of teaching, only 40% of his students passed the physics regents. After taking one of our 3-week workshops in the summertime, he went back to his classroom and he found he was able to stimulate 80% of his students to pass the physics Regents exam. And the student results on the Harvard-Smithsonian study of national professional development programs, one of our workshops in chemistry resulted in 4 times the national average in knowledge gain for the teachers. Thanks very much for listening and for paying attention. We hope this has been helpful to you.
And you can follow us online at STEMteachersNYC, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. We hope you'll join us.